This is day 20 of the Trump Republican shutdown, and Republicans have shown zero interest in reopening the government, enacting a bipartisan spending agreement that actually is designed to make life better for the American people, and address the health care crisis that Republicans have created that is devastating people all across America. Our position as Democrats remain clear in the House and in the Senate. We need to reopen the government, and we need to do that now. We need to find a bipartisan path toward enacting a spending agreement that actually is designed to make life better for the American people, as opposed to hurting everyday Americans. And we need to decisively address the Republican health care crisis that is crushing people all across the country. Working class America, rural America, urban America, the heartland of America, small town America, and black and brown communities all across America. The Republican health care crisis, as Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly indicated, is real. And it's having devastating impacts that are becoming increasingly apparent to the American people. In Idaho, 100,000 Americans are at risk of losing their health care if the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire, because it will become unaffordable for them. In Georgia, Virginia, and Maryland, people are now finding out that their health insurance premiums are about to increase, in some instances, by more than $2,000 per month, for a total of $24,000 per year. No one can afford those types of increases. In Alabama, it's now clear that at least 50 rural hospitals are at risk of closing because of what Republicans have done in devastating Medicaid in their one big ugly bill. The Republican health care crisis is real. And every day that passes by without action, it gets even worse for hardworking American taxpayers. Questions?
Open enrollment, as you know, begins on November 1st. Once that date comes, will this fight for health care still be worth it?
If we don't address the Republican health care crisis in advance of open enrollment on November 1st, it will become even more apparent to everyday Americans why we need to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Because by that point, tens of millions of people across the country will realize that their health insurance premiums, copays, and deductibles have skyrocketed beyond what's affordable because of Republican inaction.
So it wouldn't guarantee an end of the shutdown come November 1st?
It's certainly our hope that as the reality starts to sink in for so many Americans across the country, that because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans, that their premiums, copays, and deductibles are going to increase by thousands of dollars per year, in some cases more than $20,000 a year. That action needs to be taken by the Congress now, as Democrats have been saying for the last several weeks.
If Senate Democrats walk away with a failed vote to extend the ACA subsidies, let's say a 60-vote threshold, and declare victory and vote for the clean CR, would that be a satisfactory outcome for you, your caucus, your voters?
House and Senate Democrats have been on the same page from the very beginning of the effort to try to fund the government, which is to make clear we need to cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Speaker Johnson held his press conference with Chip Roy, Andy Harris of the Freedom Caucus this morning. He said that Republicans were captive to the left. That's why you and Chuck Schumer were so supportive of the No Kings rally this weekend. I want to kind of get your sense of how do you see the Republican opposition to the ACA subsidies, which is something that the Freedom Caucus is leading on? Can you speak about that dynamic of them framing you all as captive to the left when the Freedom Caucus is kind of leading on their opposition to the extending the ACA subsidies?
The House Republicans are divorced from reality and have continued to function as nothing more than wholly owned subsidiaries of Donald Trump and his extreme administration. From the very beginning of this Congress, Republicans have done nothing to make life better for the American people. That's why the American people know overwhelmingly the country is heading in the wrong direction, and why Donald Trump's approval ratings are at rock bottom. Republicans promised that they were going to lower the high cost of living on day one, but that hasn't happened. Costs haven't gone down. Costs are going up. Electricity prices are through the roof. Housing costs too expensive. Child care costs too expensive. Groceries too expensive. And now, because of Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are about to experience these dramatically increased health care premiums such that they will be unable to see a doctor when they need one, when their children need one, or when their family needs one. Like, at the end of the day, this is about the health care of the American people. And this is about driving down the high cost of living. No matter what lies or disinformation Republicans continue to try to put out there in the public domain. The Republican argument coming from the House has changed every week. It literally has changed every week. Now it's because of the No King's Day peaceful, patriotic, and powerful protest that occurred this weekend. In a few days, it'll be about something else. Democrats from the very beginning have been crystal clear and consistent. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care.
Do you see this shutdown ending in any way without Trump's involvement? Does he need to get involved?
Donald Trump definitively needs to get involved. He needs to get off the sidelines, get off the golf course, and actually decide to end the shutdown that he's created, that he has allowed to happen. We know that House and Senate Republicans don't do anything without getting permission from their boss, Donald J. Trump. And the reason why there have been no negotiations, zero negotiations, since Republicans shut the government down, is because Donald Trump clearly wants the government shut down. He wants to inflict pain on the American people. And this will not change until Donald Trump gives Republicans permission to sit down with Democrats. And as we've indicated, we are ready, willing, and able to sit down anytime, any place, with anyone here at the Capitol or back in the White House to try to enact a bipartisan spending agreement that actually improves the quality of life of the American people and addresses decisively the Republican health care crisis that is devastating people all across the country.
Mr. Lee, we heard some interesting comments from the HFC, House Freedom Caucus today, that they would possibly be open to a subsidy extension if they got certain changes to health care policies like HSA expansion, or short-term plans. Is it a clean subsidy extension only for you, or are you open to some of these ideas at the Freedom Caucus and other places?
Well, our position has been that we are open certainly to anything bipartisan that emerges from the Senate in good faith, that reopens the government, but at the same time decisively addresses the Republican health care crisis, which includes, but is not limited to, extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits, because that needs to be done with urgency, given the fact that open enrollment starts on November 1st. And all across the country right now, tens of millions of Americans are receiving notices that are shocking them in terms of the premiums, copays, and deductible increases that they are being forced to absorb because of Republican inaction. The other thing that is interesting is that, remember, Republicans have tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act more than 70 times since 2010. These are extremists who have repeatedly tried to take health care away from the American people, which is why I think we've indicated it's a common sense approach that we actually need to reach an agreement to address the Republican health care crisis and not simply be given a promise to consider legislation at some point off in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. This week, the Senate is expected to vote on legislation that will pay federal employees and U.S. service members who've been working throughout the shutdown. Do you encourage your Democratic colleagues to support this when it comes on the floor?
It's my understanding that that is not a comprehensive bill that actually is designed to reopen the government while at the same time addressing the issues that need to be confronted on behalf of the American people, which include lowering the high cost of living and decisively addressing the Republican health care crisis. So it's not legislation that I support because it appears to be more like a political ploy to pick and choose, giving Donald Trump discretion which employees should be compensated and which employees should not be compensated. All employees should be compensated, and that will happen when we reopen the government.
Are you anticipating, like, they had a 7-week bill, half that time's gone now. Are you anticipating the Speaker at some point is just going to bring the House back and try and vote on another clean CR, or what do you think is going to happen? How do you game this out?
It's extraordinary to me that for 4 consecutive weeks, House Republicans are on vacation. They've canceled votes week after week after week after week. Where are you? I mean, you're in the Legislative Witness Protection Program. It's extraordinary that we're here again, 4th consecutive week, and House Republicans are nowhere to be found. The House Republican Conference can't meet. Democrats have met repeatedly on Capitol Hill, ready to do our work on behalf of the American people. They are running scared. House Republicans are running scared because they can't defend their position, which is they want to keep the government shut down because they are unwilling to address the health care crisis that they have created, and they are unwilling to deal with the fact that hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers in their communities, like more than 50 in Alabama, represented overwhelmingly by Republicans, are at risk of closing, and Republicans are unwilling to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, notwithstanding the fact that the 5 states most impacted are West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, and Tennessee. All right. That's something.
Sure. Saturday is the start of early voting in New York City. Are we going to get some indication this week about your intentions in that race?
Yes, that's my intention.
Thank you. So I know that you said that President Trump hasn't engaged much in talks since that initial meeting. When is the last time you've spoken to House Speaker Mike Johnson? Have you initiated contact since the last time?
Speaker Johnson and I had a conversation this weekend. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.